Civil Discourse Illuminated. Last week we dove into the exploration of civil discourse and tried to get a little bit of an understanding of exactly what it was. This week we'll be going a little further in helping you to understand what this course is going to be all about. As one student said in their paper last week, the concept of civil discourse seems to be a far-reaching and many-layered ocean, with so many ways it can be applied. This course does not offer just a simple explanation of civil discourse. Instead, we'll be picking apart civil discourse and trying to understand all of its various layers and its far-reaching effects and applications. The National Institute for Civil Discourse gives this brief definition of civil discourse: to respect diverse points of view, listen with an open mind, and speak with integrity. Please take a minute to watch the speech listed below, President Obama's speech video clip from the Tucson Memorial Service. Start at minute 26 and go to the end. That speech, given by President Obama, got people talking about civil discourse. Much like our discussions we had last week in class, people began discussing what it was and why we needed it. Obviously, after hearing that speech and having our discussion, we've discovered that there is a need for civil discourse in the world today. The conversations that they had after that speech led to the creation of the National Institute for Civil Discourse. The chairmen for that are the past presidents Bill Clinton and George W. Bush. This course breaks civil discourse into three main categories, all of which overlap a little. The first one is civility, the second, civil engagement, and the third, understanding the role of public discourse on democracy. I thought this video was really good as Katie Couric talking about civil discourse and having respect for other people. Please click on the video link and watch it. First, we will look at civility. Being respectful, listening to others with an open mind, seeking to understand others' perspectives, and speaking with honesty and integrity. I love that definition from the National Institute of Civil Discourse, because I think it is very clear in what we need to do to be civil to one another. But I think there are also lots of other really great definitions out there, and some of you shared those definitions in your class discussions and in your papers that you wrote. I liked what Mr. Jacobson in our class discussion said. By expanding my view beyond politics or religion, I came to realize that civil discourse is not bound to just debate. It's not bound to just arguments. The very way in which we go about our daily lives encompasses some sort of civil discourse. Though some may call it a sweeping generalization, I would argue that this class can teach us all that civil discourse, while important in academia, politics, religion, and profession, is just as important, if not more so, in the way we drive our cars. Am I respecting the other drivers? Am I expecting them to follow laws that I myself am not following? The way we order food. Am I acknowledging the person in line in front of me is hungry just like I am? Am I respecting the order taker? Am I demanding to be treated with kindness and respect without offering the same in return? The way we treat our instructors. Am I meeting the instructor in the middle by completing my assignment? Am I expecting the instructor to give me preferential treatment over my peers? This realization may not be as profound as some, but I would argue it would make a far bigger difference if and when we utilized it. That was an excellent comment in the class discussion, and I really appreciate that and hope that Mr. Jacobson doesn't mind that I use that in this PowerPoint. I think part of this new level of respect and understanding of others means that in this class we'll be looking at and discussing lots of different viewpoints. We will be watching video clips and reading articles from lots of different people, some of whom you may not like or agree with. The point is not to agree, as Kat Lee said in her discussion or reference to, or even to argue. The point is to see and to think and to analyze and to come to an understanding of others' perspectives. The second area we will be talking a lot about in this class is civil engagement. I went to a website called Project Civil Discourse, affiliated with the National Institute of Civil Discourse, and I found this quote that I wanted to share with you. To advance society and improve the quality of life in everyone, everywhere, we must be prepared to discuss potentially divisive issues such as growth, education, healthcare, religion, race, immigration, and transportation. Our democracy is dependent upon a responsible citizenry that can and will wrestle with these tough issues without partisanship while maintaining respect for the need to hear, understand, and take into account different viewpoints. Please take a second to watch the video link that I have linked below. The third category is understanding the role of public discourse on democracy, and we'll be talking about this a lot in this course. We need to understand both the history of public discourse and how that public discourse has affected our democracy, both in the past and currently, and thinking about how it will affect things in the future. Once again, I'm back to this National Institute for Civil Discourse, and I just thought it did a really great job of kind of pulling together the main points of where this class is going. So I'm going to use another thing from the National Institute for Civil Discourse, the mission statement, and I would like you to read over the next 2 pages and kind of get an understanding, but I will read a little bit to you. America was built through the exercise of free speech and the protection of individual rights to assure a representative democracy. We hold our First Amendment rights sacred, and yet the strident tenor of contemporary American discourse is threatening our cherished democracy. Acrimonious language by elected officials and their surrogates impairs the development of sound policy, making government less effective. Recent surveys from the Pew Research Center for the People and the Press show unprecedented levels of frustration and anger with the federal government, and only small minorities approving of the job being done by either Republican or Democratic leaders. Now I'll go to the bottom of this next paragraph. The media exasperates the problem by focusing on the most extreme voices and sound bites, oversimplifying issues and neglecting the multiplicity of opinions and approaches needed to solve these complex policy problems. Starting with the last sentence of the first paragraph, with your help, the Institute can promote the frank, respectful, and vigorous debate that has been our legacy and is our only hope for meeting the urgent challenges now facing America. In times of great need, Americans have always rallied. There is hope for our country precisely because Americans have the power to demand a healthier political process and have the vision to encourage a new generation of civic leaders. I think this is great, and I want you to read the whole thing, but I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. But I loved in that last paragraph how it talks about our role as Americans and the power that we have in that process. It's important also to understand the role of that discourse on our democracy. How is what we're saying and what's being said in the world, whether it's on TV, newspapers, if it's in advertising, if it's in art, all of those things are sending a message, and how is that affecting what our world is like and the democracy that we have. How is that affecting our country? So we'll be talking a lot about those kind of things and analyzing different things as we go through this course. Please take the time to read your assigned article for this week, Civil Discourse and the Quality of Civic Engagement by Prescott Smith. This will be in your quiz and also in your discussion questions. So now that we've had this brief introduction about civility and civil discourse and understanding all the different areas that we'll be discussing in this class, we have also recognized that there's a need for change in civil discourse. There's a need for people to find their civil voice and to be more civil and to encourage civil discourse. I know that it's funny to hear me say that in so many different ways, but there's so much to what civil discourse and civil voice is. There's so many things there, as we've already discussed. But we know that we need to do something about it. This is a good start for us. Something that has already been put out by the National Institute of Civil Discourse on a website called Project Civil Discourse, where they encourage every person, actually in Arizona, because that's where they're founded, but it applies to everyone. 5 things that you must do, average, ordinary people, to help heal the community, restore our sense of cohesiveness and solidarity in order to take on our common ground issues and concerns. I really like these 5 suggestions, which are on this page and the next, and I want you to read over these and think about how you can incorporate these kinds of things into your life. It helps you to not only be more aware of what you can do, but to actually make a choice of one of these things, or maybe all of these things, that what are you going to do to incorporate these into your life. I hope I didn't overwhelm you by giving you so much information all in one day. That's one of the things that's both exciting and daunting about this course, is that there's so much information that is so great out there, and it was hard to just limit it. But know that this is an overview for the course, and that we'll be taking each one of these sections and talking about them individually and exploring those things over the whole semester. So you'll get a really good feel for what all of this means and what your role is. And so I hope that you're not intimidated by the things that you've learned, but that, like me, you're excited to learn more and to do something about it and to make a difference.